I realized that no matter what age we are, when we are in the presence of true unconditional love, we know it, right? When we are in the presence of soul level love, we know it, we feel it. That doesn't mean we can receive it. That doesn't mean we won't run from it, but we know it, we feel it. And what the op- we also know when we don't have that.
Welcome to the Angels and Awakening podcast, where we connect you with your angels, loved ones, and soul self. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancis. My journey began when I started hearing my late father before I knew he'd passed. Through my readings, membership, and Angel Reiki School, I help you awaken, heal, and master your unique spiritual gifts. If you feel called to work with me, it's your angels guiding you to discover your soul's highest purpose. Details at theangelmedium.com. Thank you, Earth Angels, for the 5-star reviews. You're entered into a drawing to win a free session. Now, let's see what messages your angels have for you today. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Angels and Awakening podcast. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancis. And friends, today we have the author of Unhappy Achiever, Rejecting the Good Girl Image and Reclaiming the Joy of Inner Fulfillment, Ashley Jordan. And I think I've only started one other podcast like this in over 600 episodes, but this was just so powerful to me, this passage, that I wanted to read it for you here. Ashley says, "Today I am a happy achiever. I am not enlightened. I am not perfect, but I am here. I am inhabiting life fully, fearlessly, and on my own terms. I am learning lessons and living out loud. I am brave, beautiful, and messy. I am enough, and I have always been enough. Some days I sparkle, and other days I'm dull, but I always carry divinity. I open my heart, surrendering to all the fantastic and effed up feelings that flow through it. I tell my stories without requesting permission. I try to own my mistakes and make amends. I am tolerant, but I no longer tolerate less than I deserve." Powerful. "I write my own rules and break bullshit ones. I abide only by dictate Oh, I love this. I abide only by dictates define for myself. My value is unrelated to material wealth. I believe in abundance, the sacredness of spirit, and the power of deep connections. I forgive myself and I am forgiving of others. I cherish my family, but I won't martyr myself for them. I value my friendships, but I won't betray myself to maintain them. I honor my experiences, the bright and breathtaking, the tainted and toxic, because they've brought me to this moment. I resign myself to the consequences of existing as my full, unfiltered self. The result is a richer, more joyful life. You can be a happy achiever too. You are love and you are loved, stilled to a label. You aren't meant to be domesticated. You are too vast to be defined by narrow minded rules and expectations." I'm going to read that one again. "You are too vast to be defined by narrow minded rules and expectations. You are too wild to be caged. You are too courageous to let fear limit you. You are too deserving to settle for less. You are too worthy to worry about approval. You are too precious to sacrifice yourself for other people. Your birthright is boundless joy. Your time has come to build a life that lights you up. And finally, once and for all, I am, you are, we are entitled to be forever free." Ashley, wow.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie.
Your book comes with such sacredness and depth that I find that a lot of other books are looking to achieve with certain words, but just your authenticness and just bearing your heart in this book, I think helps people understand um, how to be more themselves.
Yes, I think, as I have said, for me, writing the book that I wish I would have had 4 years ago when I started this journey, I wanted to write it for that version of me and every person like her. And when I talk to women who are on similar journeys, one common thread that I hear is that they sometimes feel very alone. They worry that they're crazy or that there's something wrong with them. And so I wanted the book to read like they're reading their best friend's diary. I wanted
Mhm.
it to feel that close. And so in order to achieve that, it needed to read like my diary. And so, you know, I always I always describe the way that I wrote it to dancing like nobody's watching, right?
Yeah.
I wrote the stories from I put my heart and soul on the pages as if no one writing as if no one was ever going to read it. And and I think that that's what I had to do because I couldn't think about, you know, how it would be perceived or when I was writing it, I needed to just write from that place of purity so that when women read it, even if they've never met me, even if, I'm a stranger to them, they would feel like they know me. And so there had to be that level, I think, of intimacy between me and the words on the page to create that level of intimacy between me and those who read it, because I want them to know that that they aren't strangers to me. They are sisters, and everyone on this journey, um, I see you. I'm here for you. You've got this. Keep going, right? If
Yeah.
I can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning because I think that every achiever, creator, human being that I have talked to always has similar threads of experiences where you can be going along in life. You think you know what you want, you're going after it, you would get it, you attain it. And there's still this just feeling of emptiness within. And I think that that's one piece that we could kind of hold off to the side. And there's this other piece of life just takes us all on this journey. And some years are up years and they're amazing years. And some years, spirit, you think that they're going to be up years, and spirit comes in and just brings through lessons. And when you're in that, it can be this messy middle of trying to process what the message is. And I feel like a lot of people want the message to just come in overnight, always of this is what it is, this is what it means. But I feel like to be human, a lot of times we have to be in it and we have to experience it and we have to understand it. And that doesn't happen in 24 hours. Sometimes we don't even get the signal from our body that something's wrong or off within 24 hours. It's this process of unfolding, or what you might become, say, unbecoming. And
Mhm.
so I want you to talk to the audience about how this started for you, what you were feeling within your physical body, and how you kind of almost came to the place of realization within something's not right. I need to take a deeper look at X, Y, and Z.
Well, for me, this is the inspiration for the title of the book itself, Unhappy Achiever. I was freelance writing. I was writing for, newspapers and major media outlets. And like so many writers, I thought to myself, if I can just get published by the New York Times, right? That's the thing that's missing. Once I have that, I'll be validated, I'll feel fulfilled, I've made it. And so I achieved that. And I did so in a really beautiful, actually very personally significant way. And when I finally achieved this professional milestone for myself, I felt nothing. I felt this exactly the same as I did before. And so I turned to the, modern source of wisdom for all of us. Google searched in my in my desperation. I typed into the search box, what does it mean when you achieve a major milestone and you feel nothing? And the first result that popped up was an article entitled, "Are you an unhappy achiever?" And my gut reaction was like, yes, I think that I am. But I realized that unhappy achiever, that was a lens through which I could view my entire life from early childhood to 37 years old. And, I realized I had gone from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, my entire life, trying to check off all the boxes that we're told that if you do these things, if you achieve these things, they're almost life markers, right? First, it's degrees, then it's marriage, then it's for women, motherhood often, then it's career, right? You'll be happy. And so I had gotten to a place actually where my life looked perfect on the outside. I had it all of the things. And I felt nothing. And I realized that my life was externally perfect, but inwardly broken. And so the journey and the book are about it's all about what does it look like when you have done all the things, you have built a life that is externally perfect, but inwardly broken. And now you have to step by step deconstruct this life that you've built from the outside in order to rebuild one that actually lights you up from the inside out and is reflective of your own heart's deepest desires and who you are, which for me, I didn't even know who I was or what I really wanted because I'd never had the opportunity to really know her. And so I think that that is, yeah, that's what led me here.
Exciting news, friends! Our all new membership kicks off January 1st, and I couldn't be more thrilled to invite you to join us. This year, we've simplified everything with 12 powerful courses designed to help you connect with your angels, take control of your destiny, and use your intuitive gifts to transform your entire personal world, your relationship, professional successes, your healing journey. Plus, you'll get live weekly calls with me for hands on guidance and support. Bonus for members, my January course, Manifest Miracles with Aligned Co Creation, is free for you. Perfect for starting off 2025 with aligned miracles. Non members can grab one of the limited paid spots. And for those looking to start their own healing business, join the Angel Reiki School in person this April or start your journey online January 1st. You're going to learn mediumship, how to be an angel messenger, and energy healing all at once. And as a gift to everyone who listens to this podcast, on December 30th at 7 p.m. Central Time, I'm holding a free healing for you to clear out all of the energy from 2024 and really clear out what's not serving you. And then again on January 1st at noon Central Time, I'm hosting a free 2-hour workshop where you're going to learn how to invite miracles into your 2025 and make this your best year yet. If you're ready to step into a miraculous 2025, sign up for all of this and more at theangelmedium.com/events. That's theangelmedium.com/events. Or email me at julie@theangelmedium.com for more information. I can't wait to spend all of 2025 with you in the Angel membership. Love you, friends. Now back to the show. I love it. That's so beautiful. And I know that so many women listening feel that exact same way because I see it almost as survival mode, even though, some of us might have grown up in affluent families or like had more, but there still is the survival mode. And I just see it so much within the kiddos where I live today, middle school, high school. There's so much pressure on these kids to achieve and be deemed as good and to make a space for themselves within this world. And yet, you get into your 20s after you've lived it, you get into your 30s, you do all of the things, and there is this, but who am I? That starts to come up. And so, for people who haven't yet traveled that path within, and I've worked with women who are in their 60s, 70s, had a 85-year-old woman come into my office one time and she's like, "Julie, my intention today is I want to hear from my angels that it's okay to get a divorce because I have wanted to live my own life." And she's like, "I don't know how many years I have left, but if it's only 5 or 6 or 7, I want to live those years for me." And so there's a point at which we're all going to come home to us. But as soon as you hit this point in life, I almost wanna say it feels like a well. It feels like this deep abyss of, "Oh, crap." Like, "This feels daunting. This feels big. Am I ever gonna make it through this? What is this exactly?" Where did you start? And how did you hold on to yourself through the process of coming home to yourself more deeply?
Mhm. So I think the starting point for me, and I want to say that this wasn't necessarily a journey that I went on willingly initially. I think that, you know, I was really cracked open and in a way that I didn't expect or anticipate because I think I thought I knew it all, right? I was going through life pretty unconsciously. I was completely focused on the external. I did not even know how to connect to my heart, let alone that it could be my greatest guide and teacher and the place for true wisdom, right? Where true wisdom resides when it comes to living our lives from our most authentic, truest selves. So for me, the first thing I sort of had to do was to learn how to rewire the connection between me and my own heart because I only lived in my head. And so when I actually had a therapist say to me, "Ashley, what does your heart say?" I just looked at her dumbfounded and I thought to myself, well, that's not a real thing, right? There's and and like that's just something people say. And so that was the first step. And I think once we are set off on these journeys, it's not even, and we start to really drop from our heads into our hearts, right? And we follow the path where we're led, because that's really what it becomes about. We're not so much driving, at least not consciously, but we're following where we're leading, and we feel an internal call within that we can no longer ignore. And it is exactly as you said, it is a call home to ourselves, to come back to ourselves, to who we were born to be, to who we were when we were born. And that path is really hard. It will often, for many people, call us to do things we never dreamed we would do. And but what I've learned is that there is a wisdom and an intelligence to the way that all of our paths unfold, even though they're all different. And if we are listening and following our hearts, we will find our way and everything will unfold for us exactly as it's meant to. And it won't necessarily start with the biggest, most earth shattering changes. It will start gradually and it will build. And that unfolding will look different for every single person. I find that the themes are often the same, but there is no prescription because it's different. And so my truth and what's true for me and the choices that I have had to make will not be the same for anybody else. And so I think the biggest thing I can share about walking the path of unbecoming and coming home to self is that it is all about tapping into our own inner truth, our own inner wisdom, and our own hearts to find our way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's it always seems to be, and that's exactly what this podcast is about, intuition and following your heart. Because I really believe that when you're following your own inner guidance, it's always leading you to your soul's path, which is the path that your highest self wanted to take in this lifetime. And that when you're following that, you feel something that can't be bought, which is this sense of inner filledness, this fulfillment, which really can only come by following the breadcrumbs that your intuition is giving to you. But I've seen it in so many stories over the years. There's always kind of this wake up call that happens where it's like your mind and your body meet at the same time and go, something's off.
Mhm.
Something's not quite right. And there's this moment in your book, Unhappy Achiever, where the grief of losing your friend Dan as a child comes back and resurfaces, and you're married, and your husband doesn't handle this. Your ex-husband doesn't handle this very well. Was that one of those moments for you of something's off?
My ex-husband is an absolutely amazing man, and I know that he was doing the best he can. And I think in that moment, I had buried my grief around Daniel, and I had, until it unexpectedly cracked open, I hadn't really talked to him about it. So it was completely new to him. And I think um, when it cracked open, I realized that no matter what age we are, when we are in the presence of true unconditional love, we know it, right? When we are in the presence of soul level love, we know it, we feel it. That doesn't mean we can receive it. That doesn't mean we won't run from it, but we know it, we feel it. And what the op- we also know when we don't have that, right? And I I would say that what's so interesting is that in my marriage, at the time that my grief was being unearthed inside of me, I it exposed the fact that in my marriage, what we had wasn't unconditional, true love. Because suddenly I remembered. I had buried it for 24 years, but I remembered what that felt like. And I knew it was what we had wasn't that. And what I will say is, I think on the other side of divorce, my ex husband and I now have unconditional love for each other in a way that we couldn't co create in the confines of our marriage. It's only through this journey of being truthful with ourselves and with each other and following our hearts and making the best decisions for ourselves and our families that we've been able to co-create that. And you can co-create that with someone you're not married to. What I always say, grief is loss, but it is love. And so it's not grief that called me home to myself, but love. And love never leaves us, whether it's been 24 years since a beloved of ours died, or 2 years. And I think it's always when I talk to people on this journey, women on this journey, it's almost always some form of love that calls us home to ourselves at the end of the day.
That unconditional love feeling, you just know it when you're in the presence of it in another person. And it could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be a partner, a child. Um, but that conditional love is also something that is felt. And are there any examples, not even like of the marriage, but just examples that you could think of that could help people kind of understand that more in their own lives?
Mm. Well, I will say that I had actually a Buddhist monk tell me. He said, Ashley, uh, true love. True unconditional love wants nothing for itself but someone else's happiness. And that definition is very different from what we're taught culturally and socially. And I think if we're really honest with ourselves, a lot of us don't have that in our relationships because we're taught that love is something else, that love is possession, that it's ownership, sometimes it's control, and even, covert ways that we don't always see. It's I will love you if I will, and I think in the context of a marriage, sometimes I will love you if you are mine, right? But whether we are partnered or not, we don't belong to anyone but ourselves. And so I think often, especially in relationships, there's this idea that you are mine and, right, you love only me. And what I think my personal circumstances and grief, you know, made undeniable is that's not true, because a love in me cracked open that existed long before I became someone's wife. And that love was mine. It was a part of me. It has made me who I am. And frankly, I wouldn't be here and there would be no book without it. So I thank God for that love every single day. And I think, and what I love about that is that it also, Daniel's life shows, he died before he had even turned 13. It shows that if we love well and truly, we do not need a long life to lead a legacy. All we have to do is love well. That is the legacy that most of us, the greatest legacy most of us can hope to leave behind. And we can create that not just in the context of our romantic relationships, but in the context of our work, our friendships, right? Our relationships with our children. Like, I really believe that my mission and all we're here to do at the end of the day is create as much true love in every aspect of our existence as possible before we transition.
Absolutely. Well, I want to touch on Daniel a little bit more because we talk about grief so much on the podcast. And one of the things that we haven't talked about extensively, but we should, is the fact that an adult in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s can lose a parent or someone close to them in their lives and have to at the same time go through towards the end of that person's life being a caregiver after that person's gone, closing out their estate and all of the things that come with it that can actually take years to work through physically. um, and yet, some folks aren't able to get to the healing process within or the grief within until 6, 7, 10 years later. So I wondered if you could talk about this because you've experienced it. How did you know that it was Daniel's passing coming up? You guys were friends when you were younger, but I think it resurfaced about 24 years after his passing. And how did you heal? I don't think that we ever move forward, like move on, but we find a way to heal and bring them with us.
Yes. Well, I think for me, the fact that, I was unexpectedly triggered, that my grief was unexpectedly triggered. And suddenly I suddenly, out of what felt like nowhere, I was grieving 24 years later as if it had all happened yesterday. And I went to a therapist and I was like, what is wrong with me? This happened 24 years ago. And as I write in the book, she looked at me and she said, Ashley, it doesn't matter whether it was 24 years ago or 2 days ago. Grief doesn't go away just because you don't deal with it. And I I think now for me that it happened when it was meant to, when because of the pain of that grief for me when I walked through it at 37. I don't know if at 13 I would have had the resources and the support to walk through it and survive and actually see my way through it, because soul level loss is is devastating. It is it brings you to your depths. And so when I talk about grief, I just feel compelled to say that I see every single human who has walked through soul level love and soul level loss, because it is a wilderness that we have to make our way through. And you know f- we can only do that when we are ready, right? And so it doesn't matter how long it takes. It's not about time, it's about readiness. And when we are ready and we have the resources and we're in a place in our lives where we have the capacity to really to face that sorrow within us, um, we will do it in our timing. But it does, for me, it yeah, as I write in the chapter Selah, it was the first time in my life where I was knocked down on the ground. I couldn't unhappy achieve because I was so emotionally incapacitated that all I could do was just be with myself. And that's the funny thing, is that in that space of quiet, in that space of I am so racked with pain and sorrow, I almost can't function. All I can do is be. I started to find myself again. Like, that's actually the place where I was able to get quiet enough to hear the inner call to come home to me. And so, as painful as grief can be, it can also be, in our most difficult moments can be, they can also be the catalysts that actually call us home. And I think it's also important to remember, for anyone who's walked through grief, that you have experienced a loss, and the loss hurts so bad because there's so much love. But the love, you get to keep that always. It never leaves, right? And I think that being able to hold that, I think there's so much trauma around grief culturally, because we're taught that we don't deal with death, and someone dies and we sort of put it away, and we need to move on and move forward. And that makes me so sad, because for me, that was traumatic. A lot of the trauma was due to the fact that there was this person that was so significant to me, that I loved, who loved me so well. And then he was gone. And then everyone pretended like he never existed. So there was no place for not just so much my grief, but my love to go. And so instead of, you know, ignoring or bottling up, the love, just being able to express it, being able to remember, saying to each other, hey, you know, that person who's beloved to you, they are not here, but but let's talk about them. What do you remember, right? You can have a picture if you want to. You can keep that special thing they gave you close to you always, right? I think realizing that we don't have to lose the connection to that love just because someone we love we have lost.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. You said that so well, thank you. Um, One of the other things, and I wanna go back to what you said for a second first. That connection is something that the angels have been talking about all year, where, um, they say that we do bring things with us when we leave this world and go to the other side. We bring all of our experiences, and we bring that love connection that we've developed and built between one another over time. So, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. Also over the last year, that there have been so many women that I've come into relationship with who um are going through divorce or thinking about divorce. And you talk a lot in your book about how on paper everything was good and your husband was upstanding person and there was no reason to leave, but that you knew within yourself that the relationship wasn't what you needed and that you needed to step away. And I think that that's such a hard decision, possibly one of the hardest decisions that a person can make in this lifetime. And I wondered if you can just talk to other women who are thinking about that or are at that point within their lives of how did you go through that? How did you walk through that?
Thank you for asking that question because I think for women, and it's important for me to say this, despite um, what we're told, the truth is that if a woman is not if there's not infidelity in a marriage or some sort of, especially physical abuse, it is not okay for a woman to leave because she realizes that she and her partner cannot meet each other's needs and they're not fulfilled fully in their relationship. And yes, Julie, leaving my marriage was the hardest decision of my entire life. And it was the women in my life who lifted me up and who gave me the strength and the support and the unconditional love and space to do what my heart was calling me to do. And one of those women I had a conversation with when I realized that I needed to leave my marriage. And my heart was saying, you need to leave. And my head was like, no, no, I can't. No. My heart was calling me to do this, but my head was terrified, terrified, and knew that it was going to be really difficult. And so I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and she said, "You know what, Ashley?" She said, "When our hearts are calling us to make a really difficult choice," she said, "it can be easy to succumb to fear, right? To stay safe." She said, and in the moment, maybe that's easier in the moment. But she's like, but when we ignore the call of our hearts, we end up mucking things up for ourselves and everyone else much more in the long run. She's like, so even though it's harder in the moment, in the long run, you will all be better for it. And I always think of the quote by Elizabeth Gilbert, too, that liberation is a two-way street, not a one-way street, right? And what I want to say now, 2 years later, almost exactly, is that I have a fantastic relationship with my ex-husband. We are not romantic partners anymore. We are no longer married, but with our children, we are a family, and we are teaching our children that love and truth and authenticity make a family, not a marriage. So when you're following your heart, it is going to lead you to feel like sometimes you're stepping off of a cliff with no net to catch you. But what I am here to say is when you do that, I have always been caught. Every time I have jumped because I was listening to the inner call and my own inner wisdom, I have always been caught.
Exciting news, friends! Our all new membership kicks off January 1st, and I couldn't be more thrilled to invite you to join us. This year, we've simplified everything with 12 powerful courses designed to help you connect with your angels, take control of your destiny, and use your intuitive gifts to transform your entire personal world, your relationship, professional successes, your healing journey. Plus, you'll get live weekly calls with me for hands on guidance and support. Bonus for members, my January course, Manifest Miracles with Aligned Co Creation, is free for you. Perfect for starting off 2025 with aligned miracles. Non members can grab one of the limited paid spots. And for those looking to start their own healing business, join the Angel Reiki School in person this April or start your journey online January 1st. You're going to learn mediumship, how to be an angel messenger, and energy healing all at once. And as a gift to everyone who listens to this podcast, on December 30th at 7 p.m. Central Time, I'm holding a free healing for you to clear out all of the energy from 2024 and really clear out what's not serving you. And then again on January 1st at noon Central Time, I'm hosting a free 2-hour workshop where you're going to learn how to invite miracles into your 2025 and make this your best year yet. If you're ready to step into a miraculous 2025, sign up for all of this and more at theangelmedium.com/events. That's theangelmedium.com/events. Or email me at julie@theangelmedium.com for more information. I can't wait to spend all of 2025 with you in the Angel membership. Love you, friends. Now back to the show. When it comes to being a writer and doing this work and just kind of being a communicator, what I have found from interviewing so many different people is that you become an expert in different lanes, right? That you're writing on and you're communicating about. And when you talk about unhappy achievers, what came to mind when I first got the book is so many different people. I work with presidents, CEOs all the time, kind of bringing through messages and readings for them, and entrepreneurs. I love working with different creatives. There's just so many different people who see what they want, they go after it, and yet it doesn't fail. There are so many people who are so focused in on what they're doing that life kind of becomes isolating. What do you think leads achievers to that unhappiness? And I know the way out is following the intuition, but are there any other patterns or big things that you've seen people have to do in that arena?
Sure. I think I think the biggest thing is that and this is such a social and cultural, principle that we're taught, right? That happiness lives outside of us. It
Mm.
we're one degree away. We are one relationship away, right? We're one child away, right? One promotion away. Whatever it is never enough, right? If you are not enough here, nothing will ever be enough outside of you. And so I think that that is the biggest trap, particularly in a culture of materialism, right? And consumerism. And so realizing that until you are fulfilled here, nothing out here, no matter what it is, who it is, will fulfill you. It can't, right? When they start to come from that place, suddenly even the things that they thought they wanted, right? The things that they thought would satisfy them suddenly don't anymore. And then it becomes often what I've realized for so many is, hmm, this career, this skill set that I've developed, like it's not serving me anymore. But how can I take this skill set that I have and I've cultivated sometimes over decades of a career and use it in service outside of me, whether it's changing and revolutionizing the industry they're in many ways. And so that's what's so cool is that often they become happy achievers because they're doing and oftentimes achieving more powerfully than they were before, but it is in alignment with who they are, and it is also in alignment with them stepping into their own form of service. The more love we have of self and other on the inside, the more we just want to share it on the outside, and that infiltrates every aspect of our existence, including our professional paths and how we achieve and what we want to achieve suddenly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I love that alignment, bringing it back to that alignment. I was working at a college after college myself, and got to just interview and talk to some of the coolest people who graduated from this university. And it struck me because I've seen it time and time again where people can be in alignment, following those wants, needs, desires in their life, that intuition and where spirit is calling them to go. And it kind of feels energetically like scaling a mountain, right? Like you're get this intention, you get the direction from spirit, you start off on it, you're climbing, you get to the top of the mountain. And I heard one of the alums came back for this distinguished alumni award. And he was the biggest donor at that school, and he got up on stage and he said, "You're going to get to the top of mountains in your life, and you're gonna wonder about your own, what do I do now? What do I do with my life? Where do I go next?" And he said, "Turn around, because there are mountains behind you that need to be scaled, and there are people that need to be helped, and there's still work that needs to be done. And you'll find that those mountains, almost kind of energetically keep getting higher and higher and higher, because there isn't a point at which the work is ever really done. There's so much work that this world needs. And we can't be the savior of it, but we can be one piece in the puzzle working towards a greater good. But what I always got from that is that service element. And there's one other thing, it slipped my mind. Bring it back, angels. Think it's just like the heart and the intent of continuing to, oh, that's what it was. Knowing your own worth, and like what you said, that you are worthy here and now, even if you didn't scale any mountains or do anything. You don't have to do anything or achieve anything to be good or to earn your way into heaven or to do any of the things. You're worthy in and of itself, right here, right now. But in your worth and in your power and in your infinite divine holiness, just as a soul yourself, there are mountains to climb because you want to. And it's also play and it's also fun for us. Um, and so go have fun with it too.
Yes, I love that, Julie. And it just reminds me of, what is one tenet of unhooking from the trap of unhappy achieving. It's really about unhooking from the trap of manic doing
Yeah.
and realizing that it's not about doing, it's about being, right?
Mm.
And being enough, right? As you are. And so for me, the I think the biggest thing that I want to cultivate within me as I continue to move forward on my own path is to remember whether I am receiving praise or criticism, I am this. This is how I am, right? Like my sense of self is so strong, so unshakable. I know who I am. I love myself to a degree that whether I am receiving praise or criticism, I am unmoved, right? It doesn't mean I can't receive beautiful things and that I can't receive love. I can, but it doesn't change who I am, nor does it define who I am. My being is not contingent on anyone or anything that exists outside of me. It lives inside of me. And so I love um, that you brought that up. And I think, you know, the I also want to say too, even when you're walking your path of purpose, right? I know that I'm in my work, right? This is my life's work that I am embarking on, and I have no idea where it's going to take me. I'm going to follow the path where it leads. But just as I said before, though, the idea that when you step into your purpose work, it's going to be easy. That's not necessarily True. There,
Right.
in some ways it would be much easier for me to dust off that trusty law license and just go get a legal job, right? Say it, that would feel safer, right? And there's so much more unknown in the path that am called to and I'm walking for myself. But and so I just told this to a friend just the other day. I said, I am, I feel fear every day. Every day that I'm in my work, I feel fear. But my passion for what I'm doing is so strong that I step over that fear into faith. And I'm so passionate about it that I just will never stop. I'll keep going. And so it is the passion for your purpose that will call you to overcome even the deepest levels of fear. And so I think that's what's beautiful about when you're climbing a mountain that is the mountain that's meant for you to climb. You will climb it because no matter what you encounter, your passion, your belief in what you're doing can overcome any obstacle that's put in your path.
Amazing. Ashley, I love your book, Unhappy Achiever, Rejecting the Good Girl Image and Reclaiming the Joy of Inner Fulfillment. Tell everybody where they can find you and where they can find your book.
Sure. You can find me and my book at either Ash, Jordan, JORDAN.com. You can also go to unhappyachiever.com. And the book is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, in Kindle hardcover, and self-narrated audiobook, Audible edition too. So yes.
Yay. Oh, that's amazing. Ashley, thank you so much for the work that you're doing for the world. And thank you for being you. If this podcast aligns with you and you feel called to work with me, thank you. Your support keeps this Angel podcast alive. Here are 3 ways to work with me. Book a session with me to hear directly from your angels and loved ones. Or my angel membership helps you connect with your angels, embrace your purpose, and build unshakable confidence. Like learning to read or ride a bike, you're going to gain skills that last forever, knowing who you are, why you're here, and direction that lasts a lifetime. Or my Angel Reiki School offers certification in mediumship, energy healing, and angel messaging while showing you how to master your gifts and start a successful spiritual business. Now, I want you to pause, tune in, connect with your angels, maybe take a deep breath and ask them, how can I serve as an earth angel today? What guidance do you have for me right now? How will you let me know you're near? And allow your angels to support you all day. Friends, I'll see you at the Angels and Awakening podcast here every Monday and Thursday. And thank you for listening. You're my angel.